Hello everyone. This is the last part of the creativity and entrepreneurship lecture. Today I'm going to talk with you about some applications, some examples with industries which you are familiar with. Right? So let's recap what we have been discussing in the previous class. In the first class, you know, I told you some fundamentals about design thinking, and we mentioned some key points which I feel they are very important, and I would like to remind you again today. So the first one is anyone can use design thinking, okay, regardless of your discipline, regardless of your training background, or regardless of you are from the design or from engineering or wherever you are, you can use design thinking. And design thinking can be used to solve any kind of problem, especially if the problem is not clearly defined at the beginning. Alright, so it can also be applied to all processes and industries. So it's a very good approach to start your own business. Whatever business you want to start, you can apply a design thinking process, and you can go through all the 5 steps of the design thinking we discussed about in the previous class to create your innovative product. Or of course it can be a process, right? And then we have it involves methods that enables empathy with people. Empathy is a key with the design thinking. So we should try to observe, we should try to engage, we should try to immerse ourselves with the problem of the people, or with the problem of the consumer groups which we are going to design the product, or which we are going to create our service. So empathy is the key, and remember, empathy is very different from sympathy. The fourth point is design thinking takes a balanced approach of designing the problem as actively as finding the solution. So empathize is the first phase, and we spend as much time, and we use last time we saw we have 4 different tools to define to empathy. Then we use another 4 tools to reach to a problem definition. So it's take a balanced approach to defining the problem as actively as finding the solution. Then it's ideate and explore solutions. In the phase 3, in the ideate phase, what we do first is we just generate ideas, as many ideas as possible, without any judgment of the idea, and then we try to convert those ideas to something which we can use to build a prototype later. And then the 6th point is it's a collaborative and innovative iterative prototyping. So once you generate ideas, you have to produce something which can be touched, and that can be provided to the customers, and the customers need to give you some comments, and based on that comment you will modify your design and your idea, and then you do it again. It's an iterative process. All right, and the last one is it's a model. The model can be used to solve many different types of business problems, okay? Either they are new or existing problems. All right, so if you ask me, who is doing design thinking right now, you can see a lot of big companies are using a design thinking approach, right? Starting from Apple, Google, Samsung, IDEO, Uber, Starbucks, you can name a lot of companies, including Airbnb or IKEA or Nike, Nespresso. Singapore Airlines, okay, all kind of industries. Some are service companies, some are you know, production companies and the like. Okay, for example, P&G is producing some kind of a lot of consumer packaged goods, right, including detergents and all other kind of things. All right, so in this class today I will try to give you some examples of selective companies. Okay, so we will try to see a detailed example based on Apple and Singapore Airlines, and we will try to see some other things based on Starbucks and P&G. All right, so let's go to it. All right, but before that, remember, design thinking, you need to spend a lot of time to empathize, and I will quote this from Albert Einstein. He said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution, right? So we need to spend a lot of time thinking, understanding the problem. Okay, and impact of design thinking for the companies is very huge. You can see this is the design according to the Design Management Institute. Design value index, for example, design driven companies have maintained a significant stock market advantage. Okay, so these are the one you see here is design value index, and this is S&P average. So you can see there is more than 200% advantage for design driven companies. Okay, this is the stock market value for design driven companies, and this for S&P average. So this is just to show you how important is design thinking and how important is to have a design driven company. All right, so here is some of the examples. Use what we call design thinking. For example, here Starbucks use design thinking approach to launch mobile payment app that is alternative to the SP card, the existing system, and you can see the impact is very significant. Their store line moves 10 to 20% faster than the previous case. All right, then we have P&G. P&G launch Tide Pods, right? These are the Tide Pods, right? So you don't need to measure any liquid or powder. You can just pick one of the parts and drop it in the washing machine, and that's all. So it solves a lot of inconvenience. So here P&G launched Tide Pods, so customers don't have to measure. It's very simple concept, but it's a very innovative concept. You can see how much is estimated earning. It's about 131 million in 2012. So it's a very huge earning in 1 year. So very simple concept, you know, which they be creative and avoid the measurement and make a convenience design, and they have this huge benefit from there. And then we have the Apple, the retail store design around activities, not products. Mainly stores design the retail stores around products, but Apple use their retail stores around activities, and they have the most profitable retail store per square foot. And the last one is Adobe. Adobe changed the product-based model to a cloud-based subscription model, right? So This Creative Cloud software revenue increased by 44% since 2013. Okay, so another example is Nordstrom Innovative Lab. Okay, you can let's watch how Nordstrom approach this one, how the Innovation Lab approach this one. Let's watch this together.
I'm JB Brown, the Nordstrom Innovation Lab Manager, and this is the lab. We work on 1-week experiments. Somebody will have an idea and we'll find a way to figure out how to prove if the idea is going to work. And this week the Innovation Lab is going to be building an iPad app with customer feedback as we go through the week. We wanted to work in the store to make sure that we were getting customer feedback as we worked, so that we were never working on anything that wasn't valued by the customer and only doing things that are delivering value. So we'll be building a feature and testing it until we get to the point where we have something that's good enough that we can just leave the iPad app behind and have this new thing that customers can use.
This is the world's first flash build. It's a flash mob where a software team shows up and builds an application in a surprise location. This is the Nordstrom Innovation Lab, and we're at the flagship store in downtown Seattle. Right now the team is just setting up their equipment to get started. We're going to build an iPad app that helps customers pick the best pair of sunglasses for them. We really don't know what the features are yet. We're going to use customer feedback as we go along throughout the day and the rest of the week in order to build the best thing.
So the next thing we're going to do is a user story map. So we're going to sit here and together outline all the steps the customer would take, and actually even beforehand how they buy sunglasses, like what are the different things that they might do and how that process might change if we have this application. And we'll actually dig into what we have to build in order to support that process.
So now that we've done a card mapping, we're going to do a paper prototype, and this is something that we commonly do in the Innovation Lab. It's a great way to show what we'd like to do in a rough prototype that we can easily throw out, change, alter based on feedback from the customers. I'll continue building individual paper slides, and our user experience specialist at Mattel will bring the prototype to a customer and say, okay, I have this app and this is a paper version. I'd like you to kind of use it like you would normally use an app, and you can press things, interact with them, and then she'll change out the pages based on how the customer uses it. So it's a similar experience to the iPad, only an analog version.
So it's day 2, and we have our first working prototype of this app. And how it works is I take my first pair of sunglasses, put it on, take a picture, all right, and then I want to compare it to this other pair I've got right here. Put these on, take another picture. I can just hold these up like this and see which one I like better.
Well, Tel and Kim have been talking to people and doing paper prototypes. We've been coding, building an iPad app. We take a stab at something, we look at the paper prototypes that Kim put together. We might take one at a time. Usually we come to the board and we grab the most important feature and we start implementing it. The really cool thing with this flash build is that we have actual real customers. Just today we delivered 4 or 5 different separate features, and I deliver it, swap the iPad with Tel. She'd go and talk to a customer, and 10 minutes later I had feedback from real customers about this thing that I delivered, and it changed how we did the next thing.
And it's been really, really great watching day to day what they've been doing, the team, to get all the feedback from the salespeople, the feedback the salespeople have gathered from the customers. And it's a really interesting process to kind of come in. On Tuesday, we had no idea what this would look like. There was an idea that somebody had to say, people take a lot of pictures of themselves with the sunglasses. It'd be cool if we could show them side by side to help them make the process better. And that was the idea, that was it. They came in, they had nothing built, and they've been building this literally on the spot throughout each day. And by now, we actually have an app, a functioning app that they can go through. It's very intuitive to help look at themselves and make the sunglass selection process easier, which is pretty cool to watch.
So yesterday the sunglass buyer for Nordstrom came down to check out our progress, and she happened to put on polarized glasses and then held up the iPad in portrait view and was surprised that she couldn't see anything because it was black. And we figured out that the polarization of the iPad running up and down and the polarization of the glasses running vertical cancel each other out. You don't see anything. But if you turn the iPad to landscape, you see perfectly fine because the polarization of the two items line up, and it's okay. So it was a pretty good find to be in the store and She just happened to put on polarized glasses. And so today, first thing we're going to do is switch it to a landscape design and then lock in the aspect ratio of the iPad so customers and salespeople just naturally pick it up and use it in landscape and not try and go to portrait.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what we've been working on the last 5 days. We've added quite a few features over the week. You take a picture, multiple pictures of the customer, and then you can pull them up. You tap the first one, you can see it larger, and then tap the second, and do a side-by-side comparison of each glass next to each other. We also added a feature where you can rename the picture, because we heard from salespeople, if a customer's trying on quite a lot of glasses, it's helpful to be able to know what order they were taken in, and also rename if you want with the brand or some distinguishing feature about the glass. Another feature we added was the ability to zoom. You can zoom in and really get a good detailed look at the frames side by side. Also, to see one of the pictures larger if you want to just better view of one frame. You can flip the camera view as well. Face it forward so the salesperson can take a picture of it like this, or you can flip the camera like so. Take a picture of yourself facing forward. And then at the end of it all, we have a button called New Customer, which just erases all of the images and allows the salesperson to start with a new customer.
We're just trying to put the final touches on the app. Tel talked to a lot of users, and they said that when we went into the compare view, it was unclear where the pictures were coming from and which picture was which. So the animation here is trying to solve that problem, make it a little more clear what's going on. One of the challenges with software is when are you done, right? And I think the answer is really, it depends on how much time you have. At least the most important things got done. So this was time boxed to a week, and we did a week's worth of work, and it seems like what we have now is something that makes customers happy and addresses the main problems, and something that we can track, we have metrics on. So I think we're going to call that a day.
The application has developed so far. Everything's finished, everything that we've asked for, and even the little roadblocks and glitches that we kind of stumbled across as we use the app during the week has been solved. I think that it's going to be really easy to be able to implement into our sale, and I think that we're going to find a lot of success with the application, whether it's via a selling tool for us or if it goes public into a downloadable format. Whatever happens, I think this was generally quite a success.
Okay, all right. So you saw how the Nordstrom Innovation Lab team use a design thinking approach to design sunglass iPad app. So what they originally they don't know what it was looking like. Then they go out, they brainstorm. You know, they write a lot of ideas on the post-it note and they post it on the wall and they discuss about it, they design something and iterate it like that, right? That is, and finally they come up with something which is useful for, you know, the salespeople or for the customers, which they can you know, easily compare to different sunglasses. So that is the overall the approach what we have been talking about design thinking. So what I'm trying to do here is I was trying to show you this is applied by a lot of companies and it is still very, very relevant in 2020. All right. So the second case study is design thinking and innovation at Apple, right? So if you want to watch a little bit more about it, please click the link and you can watch that video, or just Google using the text over there in the YouTube. All right. So a little bit of background. During 1970s. Computers were used by governments or large companies and were mostly handled by specialists. Okay, so computers are not for everybody that time. The notion that computers can be used for individual use was unimaginable at that time. Apple Computers was founded in 1976 by three friends, Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Robert Wine, with a goal to create computers that supported and fostered individual work. right? So there is a very big difference. So the computers are for government, for specialists now. They are trying to create computers which are used for individuals. So the aim was to reduce complexity to make potential customers fall in love with the computers. All right, so these are the aims of the Apple computers. It is to create computers for individual use first, okay, from government or specialist to individual, to make them simple to use. And of course, that's not enough. The most important thing is make people fall in love with their products, so that everybody will use one. Okay, so how was their approach? Their approach is, the first one is simplicity in design and use. All right, so figure out the needs of the people, that's empathy. Achieve its technicality through creativity and innovation, right? That is one component of design thinking. Okay, it should be creative and take care of smallest details, and no compromise on functionality. Simplicity is ultimate sophistication, right? So you can see that's why they came with a very simple and very beautiful design with just one button. All right, so you can see examples. The simple iPod design had a lot of success, right? It's there was nothing this very simple at the time. You just can have very few buttons. You can forward, backward, and menu, and then you can play a lot of music with this very simple and very convenient device. And then that's why the iPod was a very big hit at the time. Then so the first one is simplicity in design and use. The second one is it's beyond fashion. So it's create a product that can express itself on the outside as well, okay, not only on the inside. So tap into popular and fashionable trends. Okay, example, you see the Mac Pro in here. All right, so if you see, we say it started in 1976, it's a foundation. In 1978 they come with Apple II, this one. And in 1984 was the Macintosh. And of course in 1985 Steve Jobs is fired by Apple. Then from 1985 to 1997 Apple was losing profits and changing peoples over there. So that was about 12 years without Steve Jobs. Then 1997 Steve Jobs returned. Then 1998 iMac is started debut in the market. Then 2001 was iPad, and 2006 is MacBook Pro, and of course 2007 come and change everything, right? The phone was they are very difficult to use at that time. Before there are few phones which have the internet function or something, but they were relatively difficult to use. But the iPhone come with a device, only one button, and change everything. Now we do have all of us have one smartphone with almost a similar function, right? So you can see it's a major breakthrough in 2001. In 2007 it's products which are very, very successful. Then it's here 2008 is MacBook Air, 2011 is iPad, and of course 2015 is Apple Watch, right? It's continuously evolving. So now Apple is moving more to the service. So we have the Apple TV, and the something more is coming. They are more engaging to a service, not only a product. All right. So this was the timeline for Apple. So the product development strategy and execution was in the early years, products developed from scratch and had a unique hardware with proprietary OS system. Right? The OS system is still unique only for Apple. So Apple's market share fell after IBM entered the PC market, and Steve Jobs was anyway fired in 1985 because Apple was not making money. Okay, so during 1985 to 1997, without Steve Jobs, constant change in strategy due to change in regime. In the face of competition from IBM cloned device, company was unable to decide which products to develop and produce, and there was a lot of debates on licensing Mac OS and entering unknown segments like business markets, dominated by Windows and Intel. And some success like the PowerBook in 1990, but many failures like the Newton PDA and approach resembling other companies were seen. Okay, so Apple was losing their identity at this time. Complexity and confusion increased for Apple and its customers. Too many products developed at this time. Then Steve Jobs returned 1997, and after he returned, there are four major things happen. Okay, the first one is design thinking strategy is used. Okay, even if they don't say it's a design thinking, then design based on users' needs and desires. Okay, integrated customers' experience into its design and development. Working ultimately with manufacturers and being completely attuned to customers. More user testing creates smoother software. So you can see it's a user based on user needs, and here is more user testing. Okay, so it's a prototype, then testing, and then iteration. Then they have a smoother software. Then excellent in execution. So they stopped licensing program, and of course eliminate 70% of the new projects, and the product line is cut from 15 to 3. So that brings a lot of efficiency and a lot of concentration. Manufacturing was moved abroad, and a website was launched for direct sales. Okay, quest for insanely great products resumes. Okay, that's come with Steve Jobs' original idea. So then Tim Cook assigned to clean up manufacturing and distribution. If you know that Tim Cook is now the CEO of Apple. He is recently joined, become a billionaire, right? Until now he was a millionaire. Then we have a platform strategy, and a new platform strategy is launched, create a platform or architectures that can accommodate development and product of derivative products both. Okay, and we have a shared and reuse assemblies and high efficiency, lower cost, simplicity, and the like. And of course the other strategy is beautiful products. Okay, so you see Apple have always very beautiful, attractive products. Passion and close attention to new materials and manufacturing technologies to continuously create beautiful products. After making the successful pristine white iPod, they went to create colorful iPads using different materials and new production techniques. Okay, so another strategy, he's CEO as a chief innovator. So Jobs' design sense was confidence and redefined. He was committed to finding a beautiful, elegant solution that worked. Because of him, Apple focused on problem solving for individuals when the trend in 1980 was creating enterprise solutions, right? So from Apple make computers personal in this case, because he's creating for individuals, not for enterprise. So Jobs had hands-on involvement in decision making, from strategy to product and service design to packaging. And Jobs was frontman to dramatically introduce products to the customers in extravagant events. Okay, so every year he came back and talked to a crowd of people who love him, and he was a very good salesperson. All right, so they also do a bold experimentation, right? So say that is a core element of design thinking, right? 4 pillars of the design thinking. One is you have to be creative, you have to be bold, you have to be just go for something crazy, something wild, which people think it cannot be achieved, but just set your goal for that kind of purpose. All right, so Apple was not he don't want to play it safe. Okay, so he want to go for something very bolder, and of course this is a quote from him. The greatest artists like Dylan, Picasso and Newton risked failure, and if we want to be great, we have got to risk it too. That's why he go for something very bold, very strong. All right, so that's why we say Apple's approach is in line with what we call design thinking. All right, then this is a past lesson trodden here. Even as the rest of the world moves towards open source system, Apple still makes software and chips in-house, right? It's not like Android. They keep product launch secret, and very few apps have been developed by Apple for its App Store, and Apple has eliminated features in the name of progress. Okay, still Apple is able to create and sell products people want by constantly learning and adapting. All right, so that is a lesson learned from Apple. All right, so after Steve Jobs returned, they implement what we advocate now as design thinking, which is user-centered, which is highly creative, which is iterative, which is a customer-centered and highly innovative. All right, another case study is from the service sector is Singapore Airlines. Singapore Airlines defines airport lounge and experiences. In this case here, the story is Singapore Airlines was considered the gold standard for innovative customer service. In the face of increased competition, they realized that on-the-ground lounge experience is just as important as their legendary in-flight experience. This is their in-flight experience is very legendary, and now the in-ground lounge experience is as the same important as in-flight experience, so they want to create some innovative way of giving a ground lounge experience. So the design challenge was how might we design a stellar lounge experience. Right? So the objective is to bring the superior Singapore Airlines in-flight experience to the lounge for its customers and staff. Okay, then to design a signature lounge experience across various customers groups to be rolled out globally. So the approach they follow is designers facilitated vision sessions with CEOs and management team through an experiential dinner experience over 90 interviews and hundreds hours of lounge observation, as well as staff and management engagement. Right, so you see the keywords here is experiential diner experience, interviews, and observation, and as well as staff and management engagement. Right, that is empathize. All right, so the approach is created a new strategy for how to differentiate customers using personas. Right, do you remember one of the tools we discussed in the previous class is personas? Okay, so their profiles, their behaviors, their needs, right? Okay, in this case, so that is the same tool what we have discussed in the previous class. So persona represent a fictional character which represent a certain segment. You can see different kind of people are over here, different gender, different color, different kind of peoples here. Then the approach is continuing here, designed operating guidelines to ensure sustainability for executing lounge experience, including staff roles. Right here, service engagement strategies and operational guidelines, while partners executed design of physical space. Okay, so they go for both the physical space and for the service. All right, so the new design concept was rolled out in 2013 and progressively introduced in all Silver Chris lounges in 15 cities at an estimated cost around 20 million. So they invest a lot of money on their lounges over different cities. So with the new home away from home concept lounge, customers can look forward to distinct personal space, greater personalized service, and delectable selection of foods and beverage. All right, so you can see here both Apple and Apple and Singapore Airlines follow the same concept what we advocate in design thinking. It's a user-centered approach. Starts with understanding users' needs, and then try to use iterative procedures and prototyping and testing to design a final product. All right, so these are the two examples I was going to talk to you about design thinking today. So let's recap our class, and we can end our today's discussion. All right, so we say design thinking is a a systematic approach to improve business innovation and growth. Okay, in Apple case, it's innovative products. Then in Singapore Airlines, it's innovative service. In iPad, it's innovative products. And in the Nordstrom case, innovative service app. All right. So here, all right, a new device can be created using a design thinking approach. A new service can be created using a design thinking approach, or a new method can be created using a design thinking approach. Okay, a new process, a new greenhouse production system, a new financial, system, a new car assembly system, like that, or a new material and something like that. That's what we have discussed in the previous class. All right. So the design thinking have the 4 elements. It's highly creative. That is Steve Jobs' way, right? It is human-centered. That's exactly what Apple's do, or what Singapore Airlines do. They consider their customers as a center, and they, in Singapore Airlines case, they create something which is home, out of home. And of course, it's iterative procedure, right? A lot of testing, a lot of trial and error is needed. And of course, design thinking is a hands-on technique. All right. So this is the overall introduction of design thinking, or how design thinking can be used to creativity and entrepreneurship, okay, to create a new product or a new process or a new service. All right. So if you have more questions, or if you need more materials about design thinking, please contact me. Please let me know, and I hope you will do the 4th element of a design thinking, the hands-on technique, based on your project. All right. So other than that, this module is completed by today's lecture, and I will be waiting for you to submit your project, team project, and I'm going to see it and evaluate it and give you specific feedbacks. And then take care of yourself, stay home, and protect yourself and your loved ones from COVID-19. Have a nice time.